Hi guys, this is Terry from Aussie Diamond Painters. Yeah, I'm back again. I just thought I'd let you know what's been going on with me and what's going to happen in the future, both with my channel and with my life. In March, was it March? No, May, sorry, beginning of May, I had a bit of a turn, as you might call it. As a lot of you know, I took a fair bit of time off right at the beginning of the year because my mother wasn't well, and the hospital wouldn't let her come home unless she had two carers. So the carers were my father and myself. So I think it was about, it was over 6 weeks anyway that I was here and looking after Mum and Dad, really, although Dad's fairly active and he can look after himself. We had to lift Mum out of the wheelchair and put her into bed, and how she'd go to the bathroom would be Dad and I'd pick her up and put her in the wheelchair. Dad would wheel her into the bathroom, she would do her business, Dad would wheel her out, and we would lift her up and put her back in her chair. So that went on for quite a while, and then she started gaining a bit more strength and she could help us do that, and then after a while she could do it all on her own. So that's when I went back to work. And my first day back at work, I woke up. I wasn't feeling the best. Wasn't feeling 100%. I actually bought some nausea medication at the train station on my way to work. I thought I'll just have one when I get to work. It might help me. But I felt like I needed to go to work because I'd had so much time off, and feeling a bit ill. Fairly ill. I threw up twice before I left home. And anyway, got the bus to the train station, got on a train, still feeling quite ill. As most of you are probably aware, I am a vapor. So I stopped out the front of work and was talking to a work colleague while I was having a vape and she was having a cigarette, and then we both headed upstairs. So we walked to the lift bay and jumped in a lift when it came, and I said to my work colleague that I'm not feeling very well, and she said, "Are you going to need help getting out of the lift?" And I said, "I think so, yes." And that's the last thing I remember. I was out for the count. One of the guys I work with actually caught me, so I didn't hit the ground, thank goodness. God knows what would have happened if that had happened. But anyway, got out of the lift, and a couple of the guys laid me down and put me in the recovery position. Didn't know why I passed out at this point. And then I was still out. I was out for a while. And then all of a sudden I woke up and was throwing up blood all over the floor, of course, because I was on the floor. I threw up twice there at that time. Of course, they rang an ambulance straight away. We have, I don't know what you call them, but We have like motorbike paramedics, because I work in the city, and Sydney is fairly busy and the traffic is fairly bad in Sydney city. So they have paramedics on ambulance, so they have a lot of equipment on a motorbike, and they can get in and out of traffic quicker and get to people quicker. And what they told them over the phone, I think they realised that somebody was needed to see me fairly quickly. So she was dispatched to come and see me while the ambulance was making its way to me. Where she was there in about 5 minutes, the ambulance took over 20. So I was very lucky that there was somebody on a bike. Because 5 minutes after she arrived, I started throwing up blood again, and at which time I passed away. I had actually died. And in the interim of her arriving, she put a central line in, and started giving me fluids. And when I passed away on the floor, she started pushing them through. And I mean, she apparently, I watched the CCTV camera footage because we have security at work. So I watched the CCTV of what happened, and she's there and she's pushing the bags through, and she'd get another bag and put it on and push it through, and then she got a third bag and pushed it through, and that's when I came back. And I mean, she was really pushing it through, because I'd lost a hell of a lot of blood from throwing up the blood. And that's when I came back around, and I sort of woke up. I was sort of awake and asleep, sort of half in, half out. The people at work were quite scared. It wasn't something like, and people were walking around me and that sort of thing, because I was actually in the lift well, and it was the main. We have a 10-floor building, and we take up, I think it's 8 floors of that building, and the floor that I work on is the main floor, which is, you know, where reception is, and IT, and, you know, all the working parts of the office. That was said badly. I don't mean working parts, but the subsidiary parts of the office. There's no lawyers or anything on our floor. But people come and go. Visitors come in to see some of the solicitors and things like that. They were walking around me. Some people got quite affected by what they saw, because there was blood all over me. Like, when you're laying down and throwing up blood, it's just sort of going out in front of you, but it sort of collects around you, if you know what I mean. So I was just covered in blood. So then she slowed down the fluid that was going into me, because I wasn't throwing up at that point. She gave me a needle to try and stop that. The ambulance person, and at this point we were just waiting for the ambulance to come and take me to hospital. She'd done the best she could, and she couldn't do any more on site, so she just monitored me, made sure I didn't die again on the floor, and waited for the ambulance to come. Well, the ambulance took about 20 minutes to get there because of all the traffic. At this point it really didn't matter, because she had me stabilised, and I was talking a little bit, but I was still sort of in and out of consciousness. So she kept trying to wake me up. She kept trying to keep me awake. She said I'd be better off if I was awake. anyway, so you can only do what you can do. You can't sort of stay awake if your body's telling you to go to sleep. So she kept hitting my hand and things like that to trying to wake me up, and when I did fall asleep and all that sort of thing. So I'm sorry if the lighting isn't very good. You'll see why shortly, or you'll hear why shortly. Anyway, got into the emergency part of the hospital, and there was about 15 doctors around, nurses and that sort of thing working on me. What had actually happened apparently was in your esophagus, I was taking methotrexate for my skin. I have a skin condition called psoriasis, and I was taking methotrexate for that condition. And the side effect of methotrexate is it can build up like varicose veins, or actually big arteries in your esophagus, and they can explode. And when they explode, you lose your blood volume, and you can die, as I did on the floor. The only reason I was still alive was because I actually did go to work. I was lucky that I decided to go to work, because if I was at home and alone, of course when I passed away I wouldn't have come back. So I was lucky that I did go to work. But anyway, the ambulance arrived. They covered me up because of all the blood everywhere. Took me to hospital, as I said, and then there was quite a few doctors there, quite a few doctors and nurses. They worked out what was wrong with me by doing CT scans and stuff that were brought to the bed. It was just like you see on TV, and I sort of remember a lot of that. Even though I was sort of in and out, I do remember a lot of that. And about 15 minutes after arriving in hospital, I was then taken to surgery. I had my first surgery, where they they call it banding. They band the arteries in my esophagus that had burst. They banded them, so I don't really understand what that means, but to me it would be just, wrapping a band around the artery so that it doesn't leak any more blood. Then they put me in an induced coma, and I was apparently, of course I don't remember any of this, put on an induced coma. They put breathing apparatus, life support, so the machine breathed for me if I stopped, and which meant the big tube down the throat and all that sort of thing. I was hooked up to God knows how many machines, and I had actually 3 central lines. I had one in my neck, I had one in my arm around here somewhere, I think. Can't remember a lot of it. And I had one in the back. Oh no, I had them in my elbows, that's right. I had the two other central lines on the inside of my elbows. And there was apparently 8 or 9 bags connected to these central lines with different things. Like I had to have blood transfusions, which my daughter still asks whether it feels funny to have somebody else's blood in me. I had to have quite a few of them, and well, I wasn't eating, of course, so they were sustaining my eating and drinking and all that sort of thing. Anyway, I was in that for probably, I think for 2 days. And then they woke me up. And of course you have trouble doing anything with that big bloody thing down your throat, so they came and took that out, and that was one of the worst feelings. Was it was a toss-up between the central line coming out of my neck and the big tube down my throat. I know the tube hurt a hell of a lot more. I had trouble talking, but only because of the tube. It scratched my throat or something, apparently, when it went down, because they weren't really like taking their time. They were doing all these sorts of things very quickly. I was in intensive care for I couldn't tell you how many days. I think at least 4, where they kept a fairly close eye on me, and then I went to a ward. It was a great hospital. I cannot say I haven't got a bad thing to say about the hospital, which is unusual for Sydney. But they looked after me well. The food was good, which is unusual for a hospital. Yeah. So after that, went back to a ward, as I said, and just get the next colour out. 6. There's only a couple of these, I think. Yeah, went back to a ward, and I could actually, in one of the, it is one of Sydney's biggest hospitals, and I could vape in there because they are of the understanding it's no secondhand smoke. You're not going to hurt anybody by vaping. And it's only steam that comes out. So they said to me, because I couldn't go anywhere, that I could vape in bed. But what I actually did, I did a few times. But after I got a lot of the tubes out, and I only had 2 IV trolley things. You know how you can walk around with the IV trolleys? Well, I only had 2. I had one in each hand. So that's when I got up and or asked them if I could get up, and they looked at me funny as if, I was an alien or something, because I wanted to get up. And me and the girl across from me, she smoked cigarettes, so she pushed one of my IVs while I pushed the other and hung on to the there's a railing along the wall in the hospital, so for people like me that didn't feel 100% steady on their feet, you could hang on to it as you were walking. Anyway, that's what we were doing, and the girl in the bed opposite me always came with me, and I started walking because I thought, once I'm walking, I can leave. That was my idea, which was right, because I was up and walking around. I got stronger quicker, and I was allowed to go home a week before they normally let anybody out after something like that. Not that this is very common, it's not, but anyway. So, before I got out, I had to have another surgery. they took me down, and it was only a little surgery. They had to stick a camera down my throat and make sure that they had got all the bleeders, make sure there wasn't anything else there that hadn't been tied off properly. So they did that, and I think they tied off another 3 at that point. They were only had a very slow leak, and the leaking blood was just going straight into my tummy, so and out in the usual way. So they knew it wasn't bad, but they tied them off because they should. So they did that, and then I think it was 4 days after that second surgery, I finally got to go home with, of course, more medication. I rattled when I walked. And the more medication was only until I went back to see the doctor. They actually gave me stuff for what do you call it? Reflux, because apparently when they ban them you can get a lot of gastric reflux. So I took that for a couple of weeks to stop, just stop from feeling sick. And what was the other one? One to slow my pulse has got to be a lot slower than everybody else's, so that there's no build up of this the varicose veins again, or arteries, or whatever it was. Oh, excuse me. Making a video when I yawn, that's normal. Yeah, so I was on 3 or 4 more medications than I was on before I went in. And so home I went and stayed here at Mum and Dad's for a couple of days, and then I went home. The doctor's wasn't happy with me staying at home on my own, so he recommended that I get a service dog and a wristband that I would wear on my right wrist, that rang an ambulance or family member or both if the dog pressed the button. Now the dog has to be trained that if I fall or if there's blood around me, I have to, he would press the button. There was talk of me getting a necklace one, but then if I went down and was laying on it, there's no way the dog could get to it, so they thought a wrist would be easier for a dog to get to. So wrist it is. That's that section done. I usually do sections 4 inches by 4 inches, and I don't cut the paper up because I save that for the ones with plastic covers, and I'll show you when I'm doing a plastic cover how I do that. So 4 by 4 at the end of the P. Okay, so just move it up a bit so you can see what I'm doing. So this is the next 4 inches. Oh, and what I'm doing is it's just a football team logo, Sydney Roosters they're called, for a friend of mine who wanted it. So it's got a rooster in it, and just says Sydney Roosters. As you can see, the Sydney, and a little bit at the top of the rooster, whatever you call them, rooster shell or whatever. Yeah, anyway, where was I up to? Oh yes, the recommendation of a service dog. Because there's a waiting list for service dogs, I have to wait. It'll probably be about 6 months, and the doctor doesn't want me living on my own during that time. So Mum and Dad offered that I move in here with them, which I did a couple of days ago. I've only been here a couple of days and it's driving me nuts already. You got to know my mum to know. But I think somebody of my age, of 57, moving in with their parents again is a little bit, I'd say it's going to be very difficult. But I really have no choice. So I have to do it. Going forward with all of this, hoping that it will never happen again, but planning in case it does. So the service dog, the bracelet, works okay with me taking the dog to work, because if you have a service dog, of course you need it 24/7. A lot of the people I work with are quite looking forward to having a puppy dog at work, but he'll be on duty most of the time, so I think I'm going to have a bit of an issue with that and being at work. I think I'll have to give some training myself on when, where and how they can pat the dog or whatever. What I'm looking at getting, if I can, is a little Pomeranian. So it'll be easy to hide it, or not hide, but it will just be under my desk at work. So but the problem is I'm up and down a lot, going to help people with their computers and things like that, so, or the software, computer software. So we'll eat, so, which is pretty good really, because then it can sort of, it's not sitting all day. It'll be up and down, and being a smoker, I go outside and have a cigarette or have a vape. So I'm not a totally watch my computer all day, thank goodness, type worker. I think that'd drive me nuts anyway, but yeah. So that's what's going to happen in relation to my life. Of course, I have a white ragdoll cat who probably isn't going to be overfussed with having a service dog, so I'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, Buddy, my ragdoll cat's name. And he's 8 years old. I'm actually a little bit worried about him at the moment, because since we moved into Mum and Dad's that has very bad lighting, he's licking himself, and where he's licking himself in 3 places, that is now sort of, they're bleeding and that sort of thing. So on either side of his tail, on the top, on his back, and a little way up, so I'm trying to keep a pretty good eye on him. When I see him licking, I'm telling him to stop, and he is stopping. He's a good boy. He's like a puppy dog. He comes when you call him, and he's asleep somewhere at the moment, I think. He's still a bit scared about where we are. New place and everything like that. So I'm just hoping that's what it is with his licking. That he's just a bit stressed. I'll have to go and get him a cone or something so he doesn't keep licking himself. Yeah. Going forward with the channel, I wasn't up to working on the channel while this was all happening. I was very tired. And actually I was scared that something was going to happen while I was doing a video or something, which is pretty stupid really, because I just could have edited it, but you know, you don't think straight when you're feeling like I was feeling pretty sick and extremely weak, because mainly apparently because of the loss of blood, and you know, when you lose a lot of blood, you're weak and tired and all that sort of thing. So that took a while to get back to normal. And then I was back to work, and when I get home, I wasn't sleeping. I mean, like I was getting 2 hours sleep a night, and that was ongoing for well over a month. I had issues before this happened, but with sleeping, but it got a hell of a lot worse after this incident. Since I went back to work too early, so the doctor recommended I have some time off. So I've been at the place I work for 16 or 18 years, I think. So in Australia we have a thing called long service leave. I don't know whether you have it in the States, but after 10 years you get 3 months long service leave, and it just accumulates. You know, the longer you're there, the more you get. So I took a month of that off, because as I said, the doctor thought from what was happening with me, I went back to work too early, and what was happening to me was no sleep, like 2 or 3 hours a night. I have very bad mouth ulcers, which have only now that I've been off work for you know, a week or so, are starting to clear up a little bit, but it's still, because they're on my tongue mainly, makes it painful to talk, or it was extremely painful to talk. Not only do I have the mouth ulcers, but I also have somehow, and I don't know how this happens, but a lot of cuts on my tongue, and it's not from like biting my tongue or anything like that. They just appeared. So we're hoping they will also go away as I get a bit of rest during this month. So going forward with what's wrong with me and my channel, as I said, I have to get a service dog, and I went through all that, and with my channel, I want to get it up and going again. I want to get, I just started my Etsy page, so I want to get that up and going again. And I would also like to start sort of a business where I make my own diamond painting kits and sell them here, probably mainly in Australia, because the amount of time it takes for us guys to get a kit is just unbelievable. The 6 or 8 weeks from China, 3 or 4 weeks from Diamond Art Club, sometimes even longer. And it's not their fault, it's just delivery, how long it takes. So if we can get something started in Australia, it'll make not only postage cheaper, but also like 2 or 3 days. So that's what I'd like to do. I've got to look into, I have no idea what goes on with starting up a company like that, as in what sort of printer to get, what's the best thing to make the canvas out of, sourcing the best beads. I don't want any popping drills and all that sort of thing. So they won't be overly cheap diamond painting kits, but they certainly won't take as long to get to the customer. So that's what I'll be looking into. I'll be looking into the company soon to try and set things up. I just have a few medical bills that I need to be paid before that. But it may never happen, it may be just a wish list, but I certainly hope I can get it going. Get some good paintings, and I would also like to look into getting other companies kits to sell here. For example, Diamond Art Club and Evermoment, and whoever else might be interested in selling in Australia and don't have a distribution centre here. It just takes so long for things to get here. So if they're already here, if I could warehouse some, at least 1 or 2 of each, and then just order them as they get sold. In most circumstances, people can get them within 2 or 3 days. So that's a lot better than 6 to 8 weeks, that's for sure. But I have to find out about all this stuff. I have no idea where to source this stuff from. If anybody's got any ideas, please let me know. And I wanted to talk to Jeremy and a printer for printing the canvases. Yeah. So if anybody's got any ideas on where to get the best drills from, that's about it really. I just want really good, decent drills, round and square. I would like to be able to source artists, Australian artists, work, either, you know, photography, or painters and things like that, and, you know, give them some sort of a commission or whatever for allowing me to use their artworks. I have an idea for a photographer that does some beautiful stuff, and I suppose go from there. They've got a huge library, from what I understand. So I'll be contacted with them, you know, early next year, and go from there. If I need to go to China to set up where I can get the drills from, where I can get maybe even the canvas material from, I'll do that. But anyway, we'll see what happens. With the YouTube channel, I want to get that up and going again, as I said, along with my Etsy store for pens and page minders and kits that I have here in stock, and yeah, so I've got big ideas, but just not well enough to execute them right now. So that's why I thought waiting till the beginning of the year, when I have a fair bit of time off work to start with, and try and sort some things out. We'll see how things go. May start off with just sourcing some kits like I do now, and just keep that going for a little while, and then while I'm doing that, source where I can get the drills from, diamonds from. It might take a bit of time, but I think well worth it for Australian people and for myself. I enjoy diamond painting. I really enjoy diamond painting, so it's also for myself as well, so I can get kits quicker and that sort of thing. I would like to, in doing that, I would like to hire as many diamond painters as I can for customer service, so that they understand what happens, and also as many people with developmental incapacities and disabled people as I can. I always think that's a great idea, and also if I can organise it Father Chris O'Reilly here has a foundation, it looks after kids living on the street. I'd like to be able to hire some of them to on a rotational basis to give them some experience, working in a factory making the paintings and whatever. Only if that works out, and it can be done. If it can't be done, a percentage of what I make will go to Father Chris O'Reilly. I think he does an exceptional job for kids off the street. And I know where the money goes. It goes to where it's needed. So that's a good thing. With my channel, I keep going back to, but I don't end up talking about it. I'm going to be, of course, doing diamond painting. I may do some pen making, or at least showing you the pens I make. Make pens out of clay. So you can do that, and some colouring in, and I've never done adult colouring, so we can work together on beginning to end. Just starting with just straight colouring and then diversifying into other things, I suppose. I've got a colour by number book that I bought the other day through Amazon, which I'll show you when I start colouring. And anything else you guys want to see that I can do. I can make beads for earrings through polymer clay. So I can always show you how to do that. How to make canes for beading for polymer clay. Things like that. I'll probably do some knitting and a little bit of crocheting. I do all these sort of things. That's about it, I suppose. With this condition that I have now, don't know if I'm ever going to have one of those, I don't know what you'd call it, episodes. What did the doctor call it? A catastrophic event. My body went through a catastrophic event. Don't know whether it will happen again, but if it does, we have to be ready for it, e.g. A service dog. People around me need to know. So even though I found it really embarrassing because I put people through so much. There's people suffering with anxiety and things like that because of what they saw with me. So I'm pretty sad about that. It's something of course, that I couldn't do anything about. I couldn't stop it from happening. It's not brought on by stress or anything that I can control. It's just a body thing that just happens. And as I said, it could happen again. Hence why the service dog and the bracelet that I have to get and all those sort of things. Anyway, I just thought I'd explain to you where I had been, what I've been up to. I'll be starting with me's, chat with me's, or whatever you want to call them, from now on. I'll start off with maybe one a week or so and go from there, because I am still, even though it's been quite some time, as the doctor said, my body went through something pretty horrendous. I still need a lot of rest and that sort of thing to let my body heal a bit. I still get a sore throat every now and then, and the doctor said that's from the thing that goes down my throat. And being a diabetic, with the way my mouth is, with the ulcers and the cuts in my tongue and all that sort of thing, I have difficulty eating a lot of different foods, or any food really. So I've been eating a lot of jelly and ice cream and, stuff like runny stuff, because it hurts so much to eat much of anything else. My sugar levels are going up, so I've got to watch that. I'll have to start watching that. I haven't been, because I've had no choice, but I really still have no choice, but yeah. Because even yawning hurts, because your tongue sort of flattens out and it sort of hurts the cuts and stuff. But anyway, we'll get there. And painkillers help a little. Anyway, I think that's enough for this whip and chat. I'm pleased I'm back. I hope you are also. That I'm back. And that I'm still alive and kicking. There's a lot I want to do. Not only for people in Australia, but also myself, because I've had so much time off. You never know what work's going to do in relation to my job. Even though they say they couldn't replace me, everybody's replaceable. I don't believe that at all. Excuse me. Everybody's replaceable, and of course I'd like to leave work. I'd like to do making diamond paintings and that sort of thing a full-time work if I can. When I move out of mum and dad's, I'm going to try and get a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. It's not that much more expensive to get a 2 or 3 better than it is to get a single room apartment here in Sydney. So I'll get a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment and I'll be able to set it up at home to start with, until hopefully I grow too big and I'll be able to get a shop, which is my lifelong dream. I've always wanted some sort of a craft shop, whether it be knitting or crocheting or jewelry making or Now diamond painting, I've always wanted to have some sort of a crafty shop. So even if I could get one where you sort of have the shop downstairs and live upstairs, that would be so cool. You run out of something, you just run downstairs and get it. You could also have lessons and people popping around to do their diamond painting in the shop when the shop's open, and by appointment after hours. I think that'd be pretty cool. Anyhow, as I said about 10 minutes ago, I'll probably go now, and I've been jibber jabbering for 55 minutes. Yeah, 55 minutes. So anybody that's lasted this long, thank you very much. If you've enjoyed the video and you want to see more from me, just hit the subscribe button and then the bell, so that when I do another video, you'll get notified that I've uploaded it. So have a great day wherever you are, day, morning, evening. And if you see me online, just say hello. And if you'd like to contact me, there will be an email link at the bottom of the in the details section, and you can always throw me an email, even if it's just to say hi, make some contact, get to know more people in the community. That'd be great. Anyhow, thanks for staying and listening, and I hope to talk to you really soon. Bye bye for now.